I want to get into talking about the Duke dog proof. One of the most, lately, one of the most used coon traps on the market. I use a lot of them, but it was a learning curve for me to know. I'm literally targeting raccoons. I'm not targeting anything else with these things. But let me tell you, there's some problems. I keep hearing people talking about stuff they're catching in them, using the push-pull method on stuff, modifying their traps and different baits that people use. But let me explain. When I first started using these things, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I had to go through a process of figuring out what to put in it. I'm gonna tell you, I experimented. I was on this property that I was trapping on, and I decided to use different baits. Well, I can only give you my opinion of what goes on here in Georgia. Now, what goes on in other states, that's y'all do what you got to do. But in Georgia, when I used this Duke dog proof trap, I set it up and I put fish in it. Well, I set up fish around a deer feeder, and just to see what they would do, if it would bring the coons or whatever to them. Well, come to find out, that year, using fish, I ended up catching at that one feeder 29 possums, 4 skunks, and 2 raccoons. Now, there was cameras on this feeder, and there was plenty of coons there. But what was going on, I think that possums get out earlier than, coons run around at night, and they go straight to that corn, and that's what they go for. They know what they want. I believe possums go by smell more, and it's easy. Coons can climb up to those feeders and hang on and push the feed out. So it's easy for them. Possums just go for that smell to stick their hand in there and start digging it out. Well, I learned from that experience, because I'm not trapping possums. I will if you want me to, but that's not my goal. So the next year, I decided to put a mixture of half corn, half cat food, and fish oil around it. Now, here's the thing. I caught a few more coons, but I was still catching possums and skunks. Well, I don't want the possums and skunks because there's no money in possums, first of all. I can't even sell the meat to nobody. The skunks are, our skunks down here in the South are like little bitty skunks. They're not these big, massive skunks where you make money off of them. So it's more of a hassle. I'm targeting raccoons, which is my favorite thing to trap. Well, I learned that year something was going on. So I started putting these things out the next year in trails, and not putting fish oil around it because the fish smell was bringing in something other than raccoons. Well, I put too much corn in my mix. Well, how do I know that? Because what was happening was down here where I trap, there's a lot of deer running in the same trails as these raccoons and other animals. Also, what's running in these trails is hogs. And a hog will mess up your trap now. So when I put corn in this thing right here, more corn than anything, guess what? I'd come in And a hog will pick this thing up, bite it, throw it off to the side, let it dump over, and eat the corn and your food out of it, but your trap's done. Also, what was happening was I was noticing the deer would come in and they'd scrape it and knock it over. Well, so what I came up with was I have a licorice smell that I put on right here, and I only put cat food in. And ever since I gone to that licorice smell and just cat food, I put a sprinkle or two of corn in there, not very much at all. Little bitty marshmallows here and there, but mostly cat food. I rarely catch a possum or a skunk in it after that. It is a coon catching machine. So you need to know the proper bait to use. I'll tell you another thing I was coming across. I'd only use the pull method. I don't use the push-pull method because I tested it out. With that push-pull method, I was catching more possums and skunks and not enough raccoons. Ever since I just go with the pull method, strictly raccoons. Now, if you targeting these other things, that's fine. You'll catch other things, but I'm not trying to catch anything other than raccoons with this right here. I'll tell you another problem I'm hearing people talk about. They think that you could take this one trap and put it anywhere. Well, that's not the case, people. You have to take this trap and you got to find some sign. You take this trap and you put it dead on their path. Now, when I say dead on their path, I mean in the middle of the trail. If you set this thing over in some bushes, you might catch a raccoon, but more than likely, that raccoon is not going to go in your trap. Raccoons are on a path. They come out of their tree or wherever they're in that morning or that night, and they're on that path going toward the food that they're going for. You set this off to the side, they're not going to vary from it very much. I mean, maybe you might have one or two, and it's going to be a little bitty one because it's ignorant. The rest of them are on that trail. You have to set these on sign. You want to set up a trap and lure a coon in. That's when you have to use another kind of trap and use other methods. So, is this a coon catching machine? Yes, if it's used properly. You put it on the trails, you put it on sign, you put the proper food in it, and you'll catch a lot of coon. If you don't, you're going to catch a lot of stuff you don't want to fool with in your trapping season. Well, that's all I got to say about this DP. One of my favorite traps since I've been using them. I can't have enough of these. I could have 2,000 of these things and it still wouldn't be enough because it's a very good trap with the proper bait and the proper position of where it needs to go. I thank you for watching. Appreciate you watching, and those that have subscribed, thank you very much, and I hope to get more subscribers. Thank you.